How much does real estate marketing actually cost? A lot of brand new real estate agents are confused and commonly ask this question because they don't know what they should be spending on various forms of advertising, whether it be listings, whether it be social media ads, digital ads for lead generation, client gifts, or anything that goes into a proper process of nurturing your database and generating business that will continue to bring you referrals. So what I'm going to do is give you a couple things. Number one, how to get started with no budget. Number two, what to do as you start closing deals. And number three, I'm going to break down a list of the most common marketing expenses so that as you start to approach and begin some of these initiatives, you'll know exactly what to spend. What's up, guys? It's Mike Sherrard. Thanks so much for tuning in as always. And I'm really excited to dive into this because it's a very commonly asked question that just a lot of people don't know about, which is how much should they be spending on marketing and advertising in order to actually generate significant amount of business. So what we're going to do here is start with a couple of things. And what I want to start with is where to actually start if you have no money. And the beautiful part is if you have no money, you have time. And if you properly leverage your time, you can use it in order to create money. So my advice for people that are just getting started is to leverage a couple things that are free. So number one is things like events. And this is something that worked extremely well for me, where I used to have events for investors, where I would bring everybody together, host like a flipping event, and talk to people about best places to buy in my city, some of the different returns you could get based on different side-by-side examples and things like that. The event was free. I hosted it in an office that I was able to get access to. If you've got a brick and mortar office, or if you're at EXP like me, you can use a Regis office, and you can just invite people there. It's free, and it's a great way to build up massive amounts of business because usually investors are repeat clients. So events are a really great way in order to get started with your marketing because it starts to get your name out there, but it also starts to bring you business. Now, the second thing, and if you follow my channel for a while, you would know this, is I'm a huge advocate of the trusty platform YouTube. We've had agents in my organization at EXP do up to 87 deals, $67 million in production in their first year for free with no ads, with no prospecting, entirely from their YouTube videos. So if you do want to know some of the strategies of how to rank your videos, number one, just drop a comment below. I'll send you my free training. But either which way, YouTube is a really great place to start because it allows you to create leverage of your time. Because when you put one video out there for free, because you can shoot it yourself on an iPhone, you can edit yourself on iMovie, and you can upload it yourself. As long as you know how to optimize it, what it does is essentially door knocks and cold call for you 24/7, 365. So getting started on YouTube for free is one of the best things you can do because it's SEO based, it's intent based, and it allows you to lead with value and have clients coming directly to you. And we've got endless case studies of agents that have absolutely crushed it with YouTube. Now, the second thing before we start diving a little bit deeper into exact examples of things like specific platforms, ads, digital ads, Facebook, Instagram, things like that, as well as some of the other kind of more detailed aspects of marketing, I want to talk about what happens when you start closing deals. And this is something that I think is really important. A lot of realtors, unfortunately, whenever they start closing deals, they just start spending and spending and spending and going on vacation and buying luxury goods and all kinds of nonsense or getting a new car, things like that. My recommendation is whenever you close deals, invest 30% back into your business. So yeah, take some for taxes, take some for your living expenses, take some for, pleasure and things like that, but also take 30% and invest it back into your business. This is going to become your ad budget so that as you start to close more deals, you can increase your ad budget. And thus, if you're properly leveraging digital and social media lead generation strategies, it will allow you to scale and amplify the amount of leads, the quality of leads, and the brand awareness that you're using. So this is just a rule of thumb that I love to use in the beginning. To be completely honest, I was kind of more the bootstrapping type where I invested like 50% of my commission into marketing and things like that. But 30% is a really safe bet. So now let's talk about social media ads because this is one that a lot of people are, of course, curious about. Now, back when I got started, and that was in 2017, it was okay within reason to be spending about $10 a day. However, times have changed. Facebook ads have become way more saturated, a little bit more difficult because of the privacy rules and the iOS updates and all kinds of things like that. So ad spend has to go up. That means cost per lead actually goes up. And that's just the nature of any platform. Don't get scared about that because, again, if you look at Google PPC or pay-per-click, back in like the early 2000s, it was like pennies for clicks of very hot topics, whereas now it's multiple dollars. It's just the nature of a platform as it starts to reach its maturity. But my recommendation is to be spending about $600 to $1,000 a month on things like Facebook ads as well as Instagram ads. Now we'll talk about digital ads and things like that, but $600 to $1,000 is basically, again, $20 to $30-ish a day. And what this is going to do is it's going to, again, be a budget that within reason most people can afford, but it's also going to give you enough budget in order to get the right data to make the right kind of data-driven decisions of how to improve your ads. So usually, let's say I was doing $1,000 a month. What I would do is I would spend $600 of that on lead gen, and then I would spend the other $400 on things like brand awareness, just because, again, one of the things a lot of agents struggle with marketing budgets and advertising budgets is they have a really hard time conceptualizing spending money today and not knowing when it's going to come back in return. Well, the only way to build your brand is to spend money without expecting anything in return. So I typically like to take a budget that is just simply for becoming and remaining top of mind and getting in front of new people. And then the other budget, which is the bulk of it, is going to be strictly for, again, lead generation, which, again, my free training actually shows you how to properly do that, because there is a top, middle, bottom of funnel that you need to do, especially with how ads are operating right now. Otherwise, you're going to struggle. Now let's look at, again, digital and Google ads. I do recommend running these in parallel. I recommend people running Facebook and Instagram ads as well as Google ads, because it offsets some of the opportunities a little bit. Because one of the things you need to understand with marketing, especially with lead generation, is that Google is going to be higher cost per click, but it's hotter leads. Less leads, higher quality. Facebook and Instagram is going to be something that, again, is more of a volume play. You can convert really high if you know what you're doing, but in the most sense, it's going to be a little less quality leads, require more follow-up, more nurturing, things like that. So if you have the budget, and I'm going to say, if you don't have the budget, I'm going to put a line here, you can choose between either one of these. Now, if you do have the budget, my recommendation, again, is to be spending about $600 to $1,000 per month on things like Google ads, which is more the digital strategies, because Google isn't social. So this is going to give you a really great foundation, which, again, if you look at it and you take the lower end of the spectrum, $1,200 a month to be running on all three main platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Google, it's a pretty, reasonable budget, especially if you're not at a brokerage that charges you an arm and a leg like a traditional franchise brokerage. That's one of the main reasons why I decided to explore EXP, is because you drop overhead, reduce expenses, reduces costs, allows me to spend more money on my business and my marketing and not paying for my broker's freaking office. So this is a really great way to get started. But now let's talk about a couple other things, which is kind of the more practical aspect of real estate: listings. So one of the things that I recommend is about $500 to $1,000 for each and every listing. Now, let me break this down, because there's a couple components here. And the first thing, and this is one thing that helped me immensely, it helped me get into the luxury space very quickly as a new agent, and that is always doing video. It did not matter what the price point is, whether it was a $250,000 condo or a $2.5 million mansion. I was doing video every single time. And based on the size of the property, the video is going to be cheaper or more expensive, which is why I put a bit of a variance in here, 500 to 1,000. It's ultimately going to depend on the size of the property. But you really want to understand that investing into your listings is building a live case study portfolio of your quality of work. So if you cheap out on certain properties or certain listings, then that's a reflection of you. You don't care about your clients equally. You don't think that it's worth it. But again, even if you're not going to net as much money on each property, just the notion and the concept and people seeing that you maintain a consistent level of quality is going to help your business scale much more. So this is going to be things like, photos as well, professional photos. And I always recommend doing real twilight photography, not that, fake box brownie stuff, which again can look decent, but I wanted to be cut above. If you want to have clients believe that you're a step above the other agents, well, you got to show them a reason that you're a step above the other agents. And things like brochures, as well as ads, right? So I always like to run, an ad the week that the property goes live, just listed, a week while it's an open house, whenever the property sells, things like that. So typically closer, I'm going to say, to this number here, about $1,000, is what's going to allow you to, per listing, dial it into the fullest potential that's going to allow you to amplify your business and your brand over time. So now let's look at clients and possession. So this is one thing that also helped me scale my business very efficiently, which is I spent about $250 to 500 on every single client whenever we, help them buy or help them sell. And again, very much depends, similar to the listings, as in terms of, when you look up here, there's a variance because of the fact that some properties are small, some are big. Well, same goes with this, is that sometimes, the properties are going to be smaller. You might have a smaller budget for the possession gift, but there's a couple things that I did really well here and I recommend. So one of the things that I used to do that did really well is I actually used to do a wine and charcuterie night for my clients, whether I help them buy or sell. And again, one of the things that I would do is I would bring a sommelier to their house, me, my clients, and 12 of their friends. And what this allowed me to do is, again, celebrate the clients, get a lot of their friends together, have a couple drinks, have a good time, but they would always thank me, introduce me to their clients. And it's a very easy, neutral way for your clients to introduce you to their friends and for their friends to start to see that you're doing something different as a realtor. So this worked really well. It was about $500 to $750 every client, and I did it for almost every client, and they absolutely loved it. Great experience. And sometimes I would also take photos there, which is great for social media content. Otherwise, you can do things like, my recommendation is to do it personal. So think about where your clients are interested, actually learn about them as you're going through the process of working with them, and then tailor it to that. Because if you just do a typical champagne bottle for every client, listen, most people know that if they follow me long enough, that I have a photo of me eating pizza with one of my past clients, because he told me, when I asked him what his ideal night would be eating, by his words, the greasiest meat lover pizza and Bud Light. So what did I do? I bought him a bunch of Meat Lovers pizza from a local spot and 2 cases of 48 of Bud Light. And he was over the moon because I listened to him. It wasn't that expensive, but he even told me, he's like, Mike, if you bought me champagne like every other agent would do, then I literally just would have thrown it out. So think about your clients. Now, the final thing that I want to get into is the video content. And this is something that I recommend about $500 per month for. And what this is going to be is this is going to be things like your editing, as well as your thumbnails for your YouTube videos. Now, this is highly recommended because time is money. And when you can invest time back in income producing activities, your income goes up. So long as the outsourcing is less dollar per activity than you would be making if you spent your time on your business. So for example, editing, when you look at this, is typically about like $25 to $50 per video. Well, thumbnails are about $10 per video. So if you take, the average of that, maybe $40 a video, and you're doing, 2 videos a week, that's $80 a week times 4 and, $320, whatever the situation is. What this allows you to do is save time. If you want to be a top producing agent, you should not be designing thumbnails on Canva for $10 an hour, right? Because it's going to take you about an hour to design it. Well, you shouldn't be doing that, because you, if you want to make more than 6 figures a year, are worth more than $10 an hour. Same thing goes with editing. If you are starting to build momentum, then my recommendation is, again, outsource your editing to something on Fiverr or my company, and that's going to be a great way for you to scale. So this is typically some of the costs that you should be mindful of. Is, again, you've got video content that's going to allow you to amplify your business based on proper video marketing, which is the most powerful thing, especially in today's world. You got clients in possession, which are going to be great for generating referrals and, again, getting repeat business from your clients. You've got listings to make sure that, again, you've got a running case study of your best quality of work, which is going to show other buyers and sellers why they should work with you. Side note here, a lot of people are saying, well, Mike, I want listings. Well, the easiest way to get listings is to show sellers the quality of work you do for listings and make them want that quality for their listing, which is done by this, which is leveraging the video aspect of it. And then again, in order to generate leads, my recommendation is about $600 to $1,000 on Facebook or Instagram, $600 to $1,000 on Google. Always invest about 30% of your commission back into your business. And if you're just getting started, like many people, well, leverage something free like YouTube, because it's going to be one of the best ways for you to scale. So if you have any other questions, just drop a comment below. Hopefully you found this valuable and give you the insight that you were looking for in order to scale your marketing. So thanks so much for tuning in. As always, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you next time.